First of all, and I don't mind saying this, quite like your voice. I was like, he's got a really nice voice and I like what he's saying.
So I'm Jack. When I was about 13, I got diagnosed with Asperger syndrome, and then I got expelled from school. Got back in, and then really got into my art because the teachers were supporting me and stuff. Had a bit of an epiphany in a pub at a beer festival. I was like, what am I doing? Just taking notes with a bunch of old people, drinking stout and stuff. I'm like, what am I doing? I need to get fit. So I started cycling.
He says in the book, we're all going to die eventually, so don't sweat it. And when I read it, I was like, he's very true in it. The 2 days that are guaranteed, the day that we're born and the day that we go.
And then my dad passed away. If I hadn't got into stoicism and the running and stuff, I don't think I would have been able to cope with that as well as I did. It's been like 2 years since that happened now. And it still feels weird. But the running and everything helps.
I mean, I've always been okay to cry and show my emotions, and my wife's known that since the start of our relationship.
I've struggled with my mental health, and particularly for me, the house of cards really fell down when my dad passed away. I didn't really speak to anyone about it. I did kind of fall into that kind of, I'm a man, should I really be crying in front of my mum and my sister?
This episode is sponsored by Streamline Studios.
You know, when me and Jackie started Bear Chat, George,
Yep.
we thought it'd be simple. But in reality, it's quite a lot. The editing, adjusting the cameras, the lighting.
Doing it by yourself is kind of impossible, but that's why we've set this place up. I'm over there, I'm handling the live edit, so I'm mixing all the cameras together whilst you chat, following the conversation.
Yeah, and for me, that's why Streamline Studios has been an absolute game changer, because we come, we record, it's all done, plugged onto the hard drive and ready to go when we leave.
For people that might be listening, that have thought about doing a podcast, they've got an idea, they've got a conversation they want to have, come and try it out.
If you want to get into podcasting, don't sit back and just wait. Come down to Streamline Studios and it's all edited live. You can publish your episodes as soon as you leave.
And listeners of this show will get 25% off their first booking. Quote BEAR25 at checkout.
Mr. After Party.
Yeah. Jack, welcome. How are you, mate?
Really good, thank you.
Thanks for coming down. You've come from up north, haven't you?
Leicester.
Leicester.
Sorry, Midlands.
Well,
Yeah.
North to London.
North of London, for sure. But yeah, I really appreciate you coming down. We've actually been trying to make this work for a little while, and we will get into the reasons why we haven't. But you've been on journeys and missions all over. I've seen your travels, and it looks like you've been having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I came across your content, and you kind of stumble across someone's page or a reel, and I think you were, first of all, and I don't mind saying this, quite like your voice. I don't know whether it's the microphone that you were using. You had it right next. You had your microphone right next to it. And it's almost like, I don't know what it was, but I was like, he's got a really nice voice, and I like what he's saying. And you were talking about running and the effects, why you do it, and the difficulty in mental health. It was kind of like a link between all of that, and I really resonated with the time because I was going through kind of a bit of a transition to running myself. And when you just stumble across a piece of content that just hit, and I just messaged him, and I was like, really like that content, mate, keep going. And then we just stayed in touch. And then obviously started following your page a little bit more and seeing you were obviously really into your art, as you're obviously an artist, and kind of following that journey. And I just reached out and I was like, would you like to come on the podcast? Because I really want to talk to you. And we've been kind of passing ships for the last probably 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a minute. But yeah, thanks for coming down, mate. I really appreciate it. What was the... So we did plan on doing this a little while ago, and then you kind of went, I would say, it's fair to say you kind of went off grid a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt a bit low.
Okay.
So I moved out in with my girlfriend, and we were like living in this old church in Ilkeston. And she was doing an artist residency there, but I felt quite isolated there. It was hard to get out. I had to set alarms and lock the gate just to go to the shops and come back. And it was like an hour away from my studio driving. So I just had all these barriers in place to like see all the people I normally see. So I got a bit isolated. But then we moved back and I'm better now. So I've learned something there. Don't move really quickly and rush things, like have a little thing before I do it. But that relationship's really healthy. I think.
Yeah, I suppose you also learned something from that, even if it wasn't the right decision. You're back now full time. You're fully back.
Yeah, in Leicester,
Yeah.
Well, back in my mum's house, and I'd like to move out, so working towards that again. I think we both are. She's going to move down to London. I'm not going to move down with her when she comes to study at the Royal College or somewhere else, I think.
Yeah. You were just talking about that before we started rolling, that London's not your cup of tea, to say the least.
I think it is and it isn't. It's. I don't like the touristy bits because they're too busy. But there's some parts that, like Camberwell, where I went to uni, seems really nice. Like it's quite quiet and more like a village. You can see the same person in the pub every day. Whereas if in other places, it might not really feel like you're a local somewhere. It's just lots of people coming in and out all the time.
Yeah. Well, to give our listeners a bit of context, could we just maybe go back a little bit, maybe just introduce like who you are and maybe a bit of your journey of where you've come from and what you do? Because that's why I'm interested in talking to you.
So I'm Jack. I can start from when I was a child.
Please do. No, let's go back.
Well, when I was about 13, I got diagnosed with Asperger syndrome, and I didn't really know what that meant. And I was like, I don't have that. And then I got expelled from school for just acting out a little bit. And I weren't very happy in my head. So I think that's why. So I got expelled. And then I was out of school for a bit, got back in, and then really got into my art because the teachers were supporting me and stuff. And then got really into that. Left school at 18 and started really, really working hard on my art. And then around the age of 21, I got my first studio, like artist studio. So I've had that now for like 9 years this year in Leicester. And over that 9 years, I've had like lots of ups and downs. So I've had like realizations along the way where I've had to like overcome adversities and just overcome silly behavior, like too much drinking, not like upset, excessive, but just too regular. And it was stopping me from really achieving great things. So I had to sort of stop that. And that's when I started my exercising and stuff. Around 2018, I got really into cycling. I had a bit of an epiphany in a pub at a beer festival. I was like, what am I doing? Just taking notes with a bunch of old people, drinking stout and stuff from them. What am I doing? I'm like an old person in a young person's body. I need to like get fit. So I started cycling. Just got an old mountain bike. I started going short distances, up my game with like a vintage, affordable road bike. Then eventually got a carbon one, started doing longer distances. Then I like applied for uni, didn't get in. Applied again, got in. And did the 3 years, but then it was like the pandemic for the first year, so that was rubbish.
Oh, you went to uni when lockdown started. Okay,
that weren't very good.
Wow.
But that helped, like, kind of force you out to do exercise outside because you can't do it anywhere else. So I got into like running during that time, the 3 years I was doing my degree, especially after like a bad few relationships where I was just too focused on the other person, I think, not focused on myself, too focused about what other people thought of me, and then trying to change myself to mould into what I thought they wanted or something like that, maybe subconsciously, not really knowing what I was doing. And then after I come out of a really bad one, I felt really low. I was like, nah, can't do this. Got really into my running. And stoicism as well. That's a philosophy that sort of helped me out of that sort of apathetic hole. And then my dad passed away. And if I hadn't have got into stoicism and the running and stuff, I don't think I would have been able to cope with that as well as I did. I think that like it was important that I had the realization and got out of the bad relationships and started the running and the looking into these different philosophies that help a lot with those kinds of things. That's been like 2 years since that happened now. And it still feels weird, but the running and everything helps. So that's rare now doing this. That's kind of my story. If it's a story. What do you reckon?
Yeah. It's a fantastic story. Condolences for for your father passing as well. I know you will have resonated quite a lot there. It's just now maybe the fourth person we've got on the show.
Yeah, it is.
Had a very similar story and lost their dad around the same time.
At the same time, yeah. During that period of COVID, and obviously for listeners that won't know, but yeah, your book as well. I read it on the ebook. I read it on the plane on the way over, and I think I remember you put it in there. Your dad was Neil, is it?
Yeah.
I read about that in the book. And the stoicism thing really resonates with me as well, because that's something I think I was talking to you at the beginning off camera there. Ryan Holiday's book, The Daily Stoic, I put it up on my Instagram stories quite a lot, and a lot of people always message and say, "Oh, I love these readings. Where they're from?" James Parker's bought the book, and about 8-9 people. I could have sold that book, so I'll get your book out there as well on my stories, Neil, and get it sold out there on my stories. Yeah, like the stoicism one, and I made a note of it when I was coming over on the plane as well. Jack, because the final words that you put in there really, really struck with me, because we've been talking about this a lot recently on the podcast, but both me and Jacky, between ourselves, talking about, just as men, like from my hometown where I grew up when I was younger, it was kind of like, the working class kind of hero was something that was celebrated, and, the lads would go to the pub. Men would be kind of roll your sleeves up and crack on kind of approach. Yeah. So this kind of thing about being vulnerable, and the word gets used quite a lot, but this thing about being vulnerable as a man and as a male, and in your book, I love the way that you kind of conceptualize embracing your masculinity in the way that you put it. But on your final words, and I'll just read a section of it because it really stuck out for me, was where you say, remember that the journey of self-discovery and personal growth is a continuous one. The concept of manning up has evolved from rigid expectations to embracing authenticity, vulnerability, and resilience. Man up no longer means suppressing emotions, conforming to stereotypes, or feeling pressured to meet social norms. Instead, it means stepping into your own authentic self and embracing the full range of your human emotions. And the reason why I made a note of that is because I've struggled with my mental health, and we shared about it quite a lot on this podcast. In particular for me, the house of cards really fell down when my dad passed away. I didn't really speak to anyone about it into too much detail, just because I did kind of fall into that kind of, I'm a man, should I really be being, crying in front of my mum and my sister? And now my dad's not here. I'm the man of the house. I should I really be showing that side to me? So I kept a lot of the stuff kind of closed in. And it's only when I've, in recent years, spoke about that, and then spoke about it openly, and then realized that actually it's not a weakness, it's a strength. And you talk about that quite a lot in your book. So, I just want to say that I read this book on a 2-hour flight coming from Ibiza to here, and most of the stuff that was in this book about manning up really gave me a lot of kind of confidence and inner strength at a time where I'm still building on that as well. So yeah, I just thought I'd read that section, that little bit there. I want to thank you for that. Really, really good.
I'm glad you helped you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I think a lot of men do struggle with, like, vulnerability just sounds soft and weak. Like, you just think, I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
But there's nothing really wrong with it. It just means seeing what you're going through and allowing yourself to feel it rather than not feeling it. And a lot of us self-soothe with things like alcohol and drugs and just self-destructive things. And even like the running and stuff can just distract us from what we're really feeling. And we should just sit with it and think about it for a little bit and just be in that. And then reflect on it.
Yeah. What you say about sitting in the mud, sitting in the mud, because I got to a point last year where I was especially doing this project and speaking to people about being open and vulnerable. It kind of helped me to accept that it's okay. I mean, I've always been okay to cry and show my emotions, and my wife's known that since the start of our relationship. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I was doing a lot of the time was, if I was going through a rough time, I would forget about the drinking drugs, which is kind of come to an end now, but I would go on really long runs thinking that I'll just go for a run and I'll release that tension. But then what I was doing was just battering my body.
Yeah.
So I was so tired and fatigued, and like 2, 3, 4 weeks would go by and I'd done so much running. And it's almost like when you go to the pub, if you're stressed, and we were talking about before we came in here, it would be you just mentioned it's self-destruction. It's almost a form of self-destruction still. just a different form, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's how I see it anyway. That like, whether it's abusing your body with narcotics or whether you're going and doing so many miles that you're just absolutely knackered, it's almost, it's a form of punishment. You know, you actually mentioned it to me when you were over last time, the time before, to what Pete does is he comes back. I think I mentioned it to you.
Yeah.
He comes back for, say, a week and we'll record loads of these episodes of Bear Chat. Now, you noticed the difference in my behavior the last time to the time before, because you said the time before you came, when you came back, even if you were exhausted, and I'm trying to manage 3 businesses and do the podcast, trying to be a husband, you know, all the other stuff. You said you just fucking go for that run and you go to the gym even if you were absolutely exhausted. And I used to do it to punish myself.
Yeah.
Because it's a distraction for 2 hours where I'm doing something harder than that's going up in there, going on up in there. And I'd think it would be helping, but really it was just making me sadder
Yeah.
at the end. So there's only so much exercise. I mean, don't get me wrong, it can help with your mental health, but it's not a cure.
Yeah.
You know?
Plus, if you're battering your body, you need to give yourself rest. Sometimes if I'm really knackered, I'll still go to the gym, but I'll just lower the weights right down and just go through the motions. And I went my latest long run, I felt like I've been doing that with my long runs, just like punishing myself. My latest one I did on Sunday, stopped halfway through, had a brownie and sat down. It's like, I'm not in a race. I don't need to like constantly go. I could stop in the middle and then carry on. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Because I'm still running 18 miles. Just stop at 10 and don't have to carry loads of fuel with you as well.
Yeah, I saw your video that you posted. It was actually funny.
I seen that brownie before. I'm fasting, aren't I? So when I seen the brownie, my mouth was watering.
But I resonated with that. And I think I'm getting better at it. But I still, now I've kind of gone down the sober route as well, trying to channel that. It is, again, distraction. I will do anything I can not to sit in those emotions. I know they're there, but I will try to drown them out with, I don't know, I'll binge a series on Netflix, or I'll go out for a walk with Luna for 2 hours or whatever. You're right. What you just said there is it's okay to sit in them, and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be uncomfortable.
And just sitting doing nothing, you might feel a bit of shame because you're just sitting doing nothing, but you're not. You're just allowing yourself that you need that rest anyway. And you're allowing yourself to be like getting those cathartic states where you might have a cry a bit because you're starting to realise how you're actually feeling, because everything is kind of a distraction.
Bear Chat is powered by Tenzing Natural Energy, as pure as your morning coffee, but without the jitters.
Whether it's the early morning grind, the afternoon slump, or the pre-workout that you need for that session, we've got you covered. It's 100% plant energy, no added sugar, and definitely no crash. Just clean, natural energy to keep you going.
And because we love you, anyone listening to this show gets 30% off. So quote BEAR30 to get your boost.
The distracting yourself with whatever. You know, people just think that the self-destruction is physical, like with, like I said before, drinking drugs. But I've found now that it doesn't even have to be exercise. It could be anything. It's distracting you from whatever you're not sitting with. You've talked about this quite often, about sitting in, I'm sure you described it as sitting in the mud.
Sitting in the trenches.
Sitting in the trenches, yeah.
Yeah, so like for me recently, it's like what Jack's talking about there, I never sat still. Very rare. Doing a business, going here, doing this, always doing something. And I would always have to be in the gym every morning at 6 o'clock. And if I never did it, if I wasn't, I had to go regardless. And if I didn't go, I wasn't good enough. That's what I was telling myself all the while. And I look back now and I think, wow, how mad was that I was that hard on myself, like what Jack was just saying then. I can relate to that now, whereas before my brain wouldn't have been able to conceptualize what you go for an 18-mile run, but you just take a break, have a brownie, and then just kind of crack on. And now it's like I'm the same. Like I can go on a ride on my bike. Before, the old me was like, no, you've got to go and do 50k. If you don't do 50k, you're a loser. That's what that voice would be saying in my head. Now I'm just like, get on the bike, feel a bit stiff today. Do you know what? I'm just going to do 15k, or I'll do 20k or whatever. And it's that ability.
It's compassion.
To be compassionate.
With compassion. And again, I'm working on it, but I still struggle to be compassionate with myself.
Yeah.
And it probably goes back to childhood and stuff, but it's just something that I struggle with. And I know it as well. It's like I've got awareness that I'm being not very nice to myself up here. And what people, that's that cliche. If would you speak to other people like you speak to yourself? And the answer is always no. Do you find, have you felt that yourself?
Sometimes I'll have to. I'm pretty good at, like, in the moment now, I can see it. Like, if I sort of becoming negative, I was, well, I'm being negative, and then start to be more positive, and I feel better now. Right, I can. And it works with running as well, because it started raining when I was running. I was like, this is all right. So let's bring it on, just come on, give me more then.
Yeah.
And then it kind of helps you, and then you're like embracing. That's kind of like pain that's okay to embrace, like that, like pain. It's not really pain. It's just like a bit of rain or a bit of mud or something. Like these obstacles that we make into big things aren't really big things. That's the sort of thing we should try and like go through. Not if you like got a broken leg and then you're like, no, I can still go out. It's like these sort of made up things.
Yeah.
Made up barriers.
This but there's two different types of pain though, right? And I almost lean into pain. Like, for example, I saw you doing train for the Ironman, marathons, and you're putting yourself in situations where you're going to do hard shit, hard things that not the ordinary person does. I'm currently training for a 24-hour race in June in Reading, and I feel that I need to be, and it's kind of contradicting myself, because I'm putting myself in situations which are going to be painful, but I feel like I always need to be doing hard shit. And it's almost like it's this crippling sense of insufficiency where I'm like, I'm never ever doing enough, and I've got to do this thing, and I'm like, I've ticked that box, and then I did this get down to 7% body fat and get the 8-pack and all that, did that, and then I was like, right, what next? Never happy. Like, what's the hardest shit I can do next? So I don't know whether that'll go away. Even if I work on it, I don't know whether that will go away, or whether that's something I'm just going to have to deal with as I go through life.
I don't know. Things do change, and we change. And I think, the thing about us, when we're working on ourselves, we do change. And for me, in the last 4 or 5 years, that's what I've realized. I used to just think I was a certain way. I was me. If you didn't like me, then do one sort of approach. I was very much in my ego trap. And only when I've been given some nice slices of humble pie and humility over the past couple of years, my perspective's completely shifted now on so many things that, like, even I used to be one of them guys. Come on, man up. What's up with you? And to myself. But behind the curtain, I was like, I'm struggling. But I never told anybody. Yeah. And now I'm not only talking to people about it and changing myself, but I'm talking about it in public spaces and stuff that I just didn't do before. So I think it changes. I'm easier on myself now working out than I used to be. I used to be very much hardcore, and it was all or nothing, whereas now I'm a bit more lenient. But for me, the working out stuff, like sometimes when I do get on my bike, and like you've run 80 mile this week, you said, Jack, yeah, was it this week?
18,
yeah.
Not 18.
On Sunday.
18, yeah.
That'll be a long Sunday, that.
I need a few brownies for that one.
Yeah.
But it's like, I imagine for you, would I be right in assuming, because I know why I get on my bike and I'll do 80 kilometres, 90 kilometres or whatever, is I get to this space and even my wife can spot it, because you're an artist and you're obviously in your studio and you're very creative. And I'll get to a point where my wife notices, she'll go, why don't you go out on your bike? And I'll go out on my bike and I'll blast 50, 60 kilometres in, and I'll really give myself a nice workout, eyes out, and I'll come back and I feel unbelievable. And I'm like, why did I forget to do that?
Yeah,
because sometimes I forget.
Yeah, no, it's good when you've got someone else that can tell, though.
Yeah.
Well, my girlfriend always says, you need to make sure you're doing your things. I've not done my podcast for like 3 weeks. She's like, are you going to do your podcast? I'm like, well, I'm waiting for some new audio equipment. I can't do it yet because I really want to just get all this new kit. But I just need to just get it done.
Mate, I liked it with just your mic in your hand. Keep doing that. I love that. And it's authentic. It's raw, isn't it? Right?
It will still be. I just want to up the production.
Of course, I understand.
And if I want to get guests, I need multiple microphones, and having lapel mics at like 1 meter length.
Yeah.
I can't connect it up to anything.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So yeah.
But coming back full circle, why do you choose to do hard things like the Ironman, like the running? What was it? Is there a reason?
I just feel compelled to do it. Just like my painting. I just feel compelled to do it. Like I have to express myself. I think it's expression. Maybe it's expressing myself when I'm running as well. Like I'm out here, I'm doing this. It's like you're leaving a mark, especially now you can record things. That's one of the things I read in here, though. I think about not in this book, but in another book called "The Ecstasy of Communication," where they were talking about the fact that we need to prove that we exist in this like new information age. I mean, it was written years ago, like in the not like a few decades ago.
Yeah.
But before the internet, now as we know it now, and it was just talking about our need to like constantly show that we exist because of the abundance of information and everything around us. We don't feel like we really exist. There's too much going on, too much constant communication. I don't know where I'm going with that.
Well, no, you were talking about doing hard things, and when you go out, it's like a form of expression, right? So if you're out there running and making a mark, you almost like it's almost an expression. You're making a mark that I'm here, I'm doing this, right? And that's kind of where you were going with that. And I do get it, especially when, let's go back to London. When we're talking about London. If you walk down Oxford Circus, you just feel like a number.
That's it, because that's sort of part of your identity, isn't it? When you're like, oh, I'm this runner now. I can do this. I'm an artist. I'm a podcaster. This is me. I am different. Maybe that's it. Like differentiating yourself from everyone else, which is I don't know if it's as important as we make it out to be. We can just be, It doesn't really matter in the end.
Yeah, that's the fine line. He says
Stoicism there.
Yeah. He says in the book, we're all going to die. We're all going to die eventually, so don't sweat it.
Yeah.
And when I read it, I was like, it's very true in it. The 2 days that are guaranteed, the day that we're born and the day that we go. But have you found, we've obviously you doing your art and stuff as well, Jack, because something that has always come up in conversation with me sometimes, people always say, why is it you go and climb mountains, or why is it that you go and cycling 100 kilometers or whatever? And I've found that it just allows my brain to just take a little bit of a turn northwest rather than going south, and I can kind of get a grapple on things. And I've found that when I'm performing in my other tasks on my laptop and business and things that I'm doing, it's always at a heightened level, and I feel more capable of tuning into things and grabbing things, whereas if I don't exercise, everything just kind of be a bit noisy, and I get a little bit kind of like my ADHD kicks in and I kind of lose track sometimes what I'm doing. Have you found that when you're doing them 18-mile runs and when you do disconnect for a bit from your studio, you go back in to do your art and it's at a different level?
I think it does make you even more ambitious as well.
Yeah.
You're like, I could do this, I could do anything. And then you start to believe in yourself, and you can just do stuff because you just realise, I just need to put one foot in front of the other one. I could just do one painting, 2 paintings, 3 paintings, keep sharing stuff, not caring, just put it out there and just carry on doing it, because that's what you're doing with your running. Yeah. It doesn't matter, you're just doing it for yourself. That's what you should do with everything, like the art and everything. Just do it for yourself because you want to do it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But yeah, I get what you're saying with that, definitely. There's that like domino effect on all of your habits. It just helps everything. Yeah,
the cold plunging as well for me is a new thing that I'm doing regular basis, because I think the science behind it, they say there's a lot of numbers, but apparently 250% your dopamine levels go up by 250%.
2 hours, it lasts for 2 hours as well.
Yeah,
the 6 egg minimum in the plunge pools every day.
Oh,
you still on the 6 egg minimum?
Kind of.
Yeah.
It just depends how many I've got. If I've only got 6, I might have like 3, so I've got 3 the next day.
Yeah.
And then have something else. Didn't have any eggs today.
No. So. Was that like a routine with the Iron Man?
It's strongman.
Strongman, sorry.
Strongman, yeah.
Strongman.
I think it's different.
Yeah, definitely different.
Definitely different. Yeah.
Different things.
I was just eating loads.
Yeah. Got to.
You have to put the bulk on. And I heard like Tom Hardy, when he was training for Bronson, had a tub of Haagen-Dazs every night. So I started eating like a tub of ice cream every night for the strongman. And
Did it help?
It didn't with the running, but it did with the weightlifting.
Yeah, yeah.
Like with the running, I just felt like I was hungover from all the sugar. And
The crash.
horrible.
Yeah, yeah.
But like everyone in my gym it's like a strongman gym, and they'll go out for cigarette breaks in between weightlifting
No
sets.
cardio.
Yeah, they're just like, no, there's a treadmill.
Oh, there is.
Yeah,
but everyone's
but it's
drinking.
squeaky and no one uses it.
It's got covered in cobweb.
It's squeaky and no one uses it. I'm picturing this gym now, hardcore, like a Rocky gym.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just loads of big blokes that you get some women in there, but mostly just big hairy blokes that just do deadlifting and just got massive shoulders. Like someone's got a calf like this big in there. It's mad.
Yeah.
How do you get calves that big? Just because he's constantly eating.
12 egg minimum, mate.
Yeah. and 5 tubs of Häagen-Dazs.
Yeah, probably.
Tom Hardy told me how to get these calves. That's a good tip. That I need to get on that Häagen-Dazs tonight. My mouth's watering.
What was I going to say? So back to doing hard shit, because this is what I really want to talk to you about. And that was really interesting what you said there about maybe you are proving to yourself that you can do it. If you've done one thing, you've ticked that off. You know that if you turn your hand to something else, you could do it. And also that one foot in front of the other. David Goggins talks about that. It's like, can you do one more step? The answer is yes. Do one more step.
Yep.
You're saying one more painting. Can you do one more painting? The answer is yes. Great. We deal with the next painting next. The painting I also want to talk to you about. You've been painting since you were a child, or?
Yeah, my mum said I won my first competition when I was like 3 for painting.
Wow.
Can you imagine that? I don't know what it was. Like
I'd like to know who held that competition.
Yeah. But yeah,
Interesting.
all my life just making marks.
And so that was obviously something that you resonated with from a young age. And do you think there's a reason why you turn your hand to art and maybe not like music or something else for you? Because it's creation at the end of the day. That obviously something with art resonated with you. Do you think you can put your finger on why that is?
I think it's just show and tell, like wanting to show everyone how I see things. Have you noticed this small part of this leaf? Yeah, I've drawn a picture of it. Oh, that's interesting. Never seen that before. And I thought it's showing how you think as well, especially with my latest stuff. I'm sort of really going in very miniature. It's inspired by microscopy. So like very close-up images of cell tissue, mostly damaged cell tissue. And I like that because it's kind of morbid, but these images are really beautiful. And I kind of see faces and landscapes in them, and that's why I'm inspired by them. So I'll just look at them and kind of repeat the marks on the canvas and try and pull out figures and things in them. So they're kind of there and not there. They're just pretty colours as well, which like look nice on you all.
Of course.
It's important.
I like that. Listening to what you were saying there, all I was hearing was you've almost got, because if you say 3 of us looking at one thing, you're seeing one thing.
Yeah.
You're seeing another thing, and I'm seeing something completely different. We're looking at the same thing, but you've got an eye for, say, when you said about that leaf, you've seen this part of this leaf and people didn't notice it. It's almost like you've got don't want to use the word gift, but you've got an instinct for seeing stuff that maybe other people don't see, and that's your form of expression in that. You're trying to express that. You're trying to show someone that what you see. And I think you can almost do that. I mean, I probably did that a little bit with music when I was producing, even though I didn't really resonate with the production as much. It was more the DJing was when I DJ'd, all I wanted to do was show people how I could make this journey of sounds for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I also expressed it with the way I move my body and my smile on certain parts of the set. And I used to, that was my, God, I would do that bit for free. That was the job that I had, but I would have done that 2 hours for free. The production part, it was like, we all have, all these samples are everywhere online, but you take this certain amount of samples and you create this sound with these same samples that other people have got access to. And that's kind of the same thing you were saying about that part of the leaf.
Thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're like boosting up certain layers that maybe other people haven't noticed. And I think that is exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just different medium.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
And that's kind of, again,
sounds,
it's the same thing with colors, whether it's with sounds. It's an expression of something that you feel in here, and you want other people to not necessarily understand, but you want them to see or hear it.
I think more people resonate with music than they do with visual art, like painting, which is something I want to change. That's what I want to change. I want people not to be intimidated by going to galleries and things. I want to just look at it and just interpret it however they want to interpret it. I'm not going to tell people how to feel. And neither do musicians, really, especially DJs. They're just there. It's almost spiritual, these like things. These like big Ibiza things. Kind of like trance-like states. Weird. Maybe enhanced by certain things, but like the music's a big part of it, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think for me, I can always remember me as a kid. Like, well, my mum told me that she used to watch Dallas on TV. It's probably before your time, but there's her theme tune, and I was only 2, 3. I was in a cot, and I was like kicking my legs and my arms. So I always remember as a kid always being kind of like, you know, hypnotized by any kinds of sounds, and you'd pat, you know, what at a table if you were sat at it, and you used to hit a knife and fork on the plate, make sounds on the plate. So I think music is definitely something that's kind of available to us when we're using these ears as small children. But then the next thing that comes is the visual stuff, different colours, different patterns. And I think they kind of both go hand in hand, whether you're a musical artist or whether you're a painting, a visual artist. I think them two worlds will always be an expression of how you are at the time, what your inspiration is, and almost kind of like a record of where you've been and where you're going. Like, well, I imagine when you look at some of your paintings, Jack, that you've done over recent years, you can probably go back and look at some of your older paintings and think, I remember how I was at that time and how I was feeling at that time, what my inspiration was, all them kinds of things. Same for you with the music. You could play a set and you could probably listen to a set and you'll probably know how you was at that time.
Well, I flicked through a few tracks this week because I was trying to find one for this the Nostro podcast, the My Business podcast I was doing.
Yeah,
just trying to find a track because if you use the track online, you get copyright and you have to pay for the licensing. So I'll use one of my old tracks, and I went through and I remember where I was living. It's almost like an emotion that comes. It's not like it's an instinct. You just know, and you probably feel the same looking at paintings. Right? Maybe similar thing.
I think I do.
There's a connection between memory, smells as well. I don't know what it is about smells and art, but like you can smell something and it'll take you back to a time in your life, which is crazy. When you were talking about visuals and music, if you speak to the shamans in Peru, you know, there's people who will testify that they'll do ayahuasca. You know, they'll drink ayahuasca, and without the icaros, which are the songs that the shamans say that were taught to them by the plants and by the earth, that the ayahuasca doesn't have the same effect. When the shamans play the gong or they do the icaros, the songs that they sing, it enhances the experience of the ayahuasca. So you've got a connection there, which also connects to the visuals. Yeah. They see things when the icaros are sang, or they play the instruments during the ceremony. So there's a very strange connection between music, visuals, and I find that fascinating. But yeah, coming back to art, I was just really curious as to why you think you turn your hand to art. But I think you probably answered that. I think it's fascinating, and seeing some of your stuff, and it's again just from your social media. I've only known, and also your podcast is audio only, right? On Spotify.
Do a video.
Or maybe I listen to it on Spotify, but on Spotify it's.
I've been
audio.
Putting the videos on Spotify as well. It's tricky because they have to be exactly the same length as a track. But I've figured that out now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
We're going to figure that out. We're going to figure it out for this.
Yeah.
Nice to have this on Spotify.
Yeah.
But yeah, your art was really interesting, and I don't understand why I like it.
That's right.
But I don't think that's exactly what I mean. I don't think it matters.
No.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, does it?
No.
You don't think too much when you're in the car listening to the radio. Why the hell do I like this? I don't understand what it's like. They don't have to understand. Sometimes you start singing lyrics though, and you're like, "What the hell am I singing? This is really weird."
Yeah,
like the Amy Winehouse songs, and you've got kids singing them on X Factor or something. It's just like, this is really weird. Talking about like rehab.
Rehab. Yeah.
Me and my missus was singing a song for like 15, 20 years, and the words were wrong. What we were even singing didn't even matter. It's irrelevant. But now, when we listen to the tune, we still sing the same lyrics that are not even the right lyrics. So it's same again. With music and art and things like that, for me, it's regardless. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just all our perception in it. Like I was saying with that track, for me and my missus, we perceived that the words to the song was a certain way, and they actually weren't. But it doesn't take away anything from the track itself. And I imagine with art, it's kind of the same. So when you're doing your art, Jack, do you always go in with an intention of what you're going to be doing, or sometimes do you just go in completely blind and you say
it's always completely blind
every single time? Yeah.
And then the meaning might come, or there might not be one.
Right.
Like I think you just have to start painting. The meaning sort of reveals itself, almost like when you start journaling, like the first few words I'm like, I've just got to start. So it's like a stream of consciousness.
Wow.
You just put in random marks on, and then something builds up. Normally some kind of figure or something, but sometimes just purely abstract.
Wow, that's amazing. So when you're doing your paintings, then has there ever been a time where you've gone in and took a step back when you finished a painting and been really surprised in a positive, like not that you've been surprised in a negative way, but have you ever been in awe of what you've done afterwards and gone, wow, where's that come from, sort of thing?
It's when you get in like a flow state and you're not really paying attention to what you're doing. That's when you make the best work. If you're thinking about it too much, almost don't get anything done. You're just like, what I like to do actually is to like try and use colours and things that I don't think are going to work, and then they often work really well.
Yeah.
It's good if I get stuck on something, I'll just be like, right, let's wreck it and then try and fix it again.
Ah, okay, yeah. So kind of break it down and then just rebuild it, but just, again, trying to stay in that flow state with everything.
Yeah, and then once you've wrecked it, you're not precious about it, so you just...
Start again almost.
Start again. Just got to get into it. And I'll have some music or something. I need to get my record player fixed. I'll have a record player, and that's really nice to listen to when I'm painting.
So vinyls are playing in the background,
that's good as well.
What's one of your favourite tunes that you like to listen to that inspires you?
So I've got some like Jimi Hendrix,
nice,
Pink Floyd, all kind of trippy stuff like that. There's a Frank Zappa one, like Mothers. Have you heard of Frank Zappa and Mothers? Weird,
yeah,
really weird. Like I don't know if it's progressive rock. I don't know the genre. It's kind of comedy as well.
In the music,
it's just taking the mic.
Yeah,
it's just taking the mic.
Frank Zappa.
This is really silly. It's really funny. You should check out Frank Zappa on.
Frank Zappa.
I'm going to check that out, definitely. Yeah.
I'd like to talk about the book because you brought it up at the start.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll let you start with this because I know you messaged me on the way here and you went, I've just finished his book.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I've got some notes, but when I was talking to Jack before about the closing statement that he's put in the back of the book, which was really good, really, really resonated with me, which is why I was thanking you for it because it's brilliant. But I think like chapter 1, deconstructing.
Well, let's just give some context to people who are listening. So
masculinity. So it's all about, obviously, the book's called Man Up. Yeah. And it's all about, breaking down this kind of almost conception that society can kind of have of what is masculinity and what do we perceive it to kind of be. And when I was reading it, I was thinking, well, as a young kid, my perception was that I wasn't allowed to show my emotions, that I had to grit my teeth, and that word man up. Like I said, I used to get it, and then not in a bad way, but it's just what adults were saying at that time, and then I would pass it on to people. Yeah. Even in my space, but now, we're in a time where we talk about these things. Showing your emotions as a man is a fine thing. It's actually not and we've talked about it before, Jackie, it's not a weakness, which I've perceived it as for decades.
I did.
It's not that. And what's really great about this book is that it breaks all that down and like, Jack has statements in there like masculinity in flux brings reassurance that everyone experiences challenge in life, including men, and talks about struggles that men in particular can kind of go through and how we just kind of change that almost perception, but a societal perception, which it has been in the past, but we're now kind of seeing it change. And I think books like what Jack's done and the stuff that's written in here is what changes that.
I think it's weird at the moment though, because I see lots of like really horrible stuff about masculinity like on the rise, especially on social media. You got like Andrew Tates and people like
the toxic masculinity.
like
people
yeah.
saying
But I hate
brandings.
that like the phrase toxic masculinity, but it definitely is that. That is that.
Yeah.
Like they're just saying stuff, and then young lads will see it, and then they'll just keep being how we've been when we were younger, and it's not going to progress.
Yeah.
So I try to say stuff, but I don't want to put people off saying toxic masculinity. So I am sort of talking about that, but I'm just not using that kind of language. I'm not trying to talk in a certain tone to put people off. I think people see certain things and like, he thinks he's better than everyone else.
Yeah, no,
I don't think I am.
Well, that maybe is just your perception of what people think. But why do you think you were drawn to actually? Because you could have wrote a book on anything. You could have done it on art. You could have done it on anything. Why do you think?
I think it was just to help me to start with.
Yeah.
It was just like me just writing stuff down. I was like, maybe other people will like it. So I tried to write it in a way where it was for other people.
Nice.
That's how it started. Because it was just me trying to like process like grief and stuff, to be honest.
Yeah.
And yeah, thinking about my dad, like the reason I called it Man Up was because someone told my dad to man up, and then he fell out with them for ages after my granddad died. And he was just really struggling because he had like chronic pain and illnesses from grafting really hard as a carpenter all his life.
Yeah.
And he actually couldn't physically do stuff. So actually saying that to someone who actually can't physically do it is not, it's not on really, because you're just making them feel like absolute rubbish. And they already feel like absolute rubbish because they're depressed because they can't do what they've always done. They can't go to work and provide for their family and stuff like this. So I think it's something we need to be careful with our words. Like we can say that, don't get offended, blah, blah, blah. But people do and really take it to heart, and then, it could probably damages your immune system when you're depressed. You just it breaks everything down, and then you actually become physically weaker when you're depressed, because your body starts to not care, like physically not care about itself.
Yeah, yeah.
I was in bed a couple of weeks ago with it.
Where you was on about it,
speaking to Pete, just had a really heavy, emotionally heavy, probably 4 or 5 days. And the tension and the stress put me in bed for 2 days. And I said to Pete, I'm having negative thoughts. I was thinking about having a drink, and all these stupid things were just coming to say stupid, but like irrational feelings. But so much so that I was building up so much stress and tension that, my body physically got ill, and I was weak to the point where I was lying in bed for 48 hours. And the knock-on effect of that with work created more stress, and you're in this cycle. But I completely agree. Stress can physically, people just think, oh, you're stressed. I don't know, go for a walk, or, go have a blowout. They'll say, I'll go out on Friday night, have fun. I think that's going to reduce your stress. And that was my go-to for many years. But now I've got this awareness. It didn't help, even though I was aware that this was happening. It was still happening.
Yeah.
And it still made me ill physically. And it's crazy that stress can do that.
Yeah, they say in the States, don't they, that I think it's 80% of hospital admissions or something like that is all down to chronic stress.
80%.
I
didn't know it was that high.
Yeah, I think it's Dr. Joe Dispenza or somebody who put that figure out there. I might be, stripping it down a bit, but it's around about that figure. 80% of hospital admissions in the US, and I imagine in the UK we're not too far behind because we're pretty similar. And another thing in the book that you've written as well, Jack, I noticed there was a statistic, and we've talked about it, but this one that you put was from the Samaritans. Oh yeah, 70% of men in the UK suffer with the kind of spouts of anxiety, depression, that kind of thing.
Yep.
We spoke about it 3-4 episodes ago, where again, do you think that because of things like the way that society and your likes of your Andrew Tates, as you've said out there, and I'm glad you kind of brought that up, because we were talking earlier at the start of the episode that information's available now more than ever through these devices and phones that we've got. Do you think that kind of approach to young men in particular are either A, being told to man up, or B, being told by somebody that they're probably not man enough because they've not got a Lamborghini or a Rolex. Do you think that a lot of younger men in particular are feeling this pull where they actually probably sometimes are confused which direction they're going in with the mental health stuff? Because the biggest killer in men under the age of 46 now in the UK is on top of that is suicide.
Yep.
Yeah. So it is something that's been on the rise. Do you think it's a contributing factor with them things that are out there on social media? Do you think that plays a part?
I think it really does. I think people, like, they might have a really good job and they might just think they're not good enough because they're not doing A, B, and C, but they've got a good job. Like, it's cool. You've got a job. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Like, it's better than not having one. So I've not had one before I've been uni on benefits. That's why I wanted to go, because I've just always been on this thing, because I have this Asperger's thing. I was entitled to certain things. So I was just like, I was sick of it. So I don't think I'm good enough. So that's why I went that route. But I think I did it in a kind of a healthy way. But yeah, I think they really do. I think my brother struggles with it because he keeps changing jobs and stuff, and he really wants to do his own thing. But I said, "You're doing really well. Like, he's like a postman. Good job." And he keeps like taking the piss out of himself because he's that. But it's good that he's that. Like, there's nothing wrong with it.
Self-deprecating.
Yeah, self-deprecating. Like, I think we all do it, especially in Britain as well. Like, we laugh it off and we laugh at each other, but like, we should be egging each other on, like, in a positive way. Like, doing good.
In America, they don't have the same culture, do they?
No.
I've seen people taking the piss out of Americans to do this before and after on Instagram. It's like, I don't know, this in the UK, then in America, it's completely different. Like, it could be American people like, "Oh yeah, bro, well done, high five." In the UK, it's like, "You dickhead." Like, it could be anything, but we've got this culture where people aren't very supportive. And I'm not putting down the UK, but I feel like it is a culture that we're brought up in. In America, everyone's a bit more high-fivey, and "You got this, bro," sort of attitude.
Yeah.
I never grew up with that, and I don't think it's the same in young generations today. I don't think we've got that in society over here as much.
Yeah.
Depends also your circles, who you hang around with. You're a product of your environment, I suppose.
Yep.
Right? So it depends who your friends are, but I think there's a lot less of it.
That's certainly it. It's getting in the right circles, because gym culture is more like that. I think that's why I'm attracted to it, actually.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Because, like, if you lift a certain amount of weight and you hit a PB, like, getting high fives, well done's. I wrote that in, put that in man up, didn't I?
Yeah.
About how I lifted like 180 kilos.
180 kilos. You did it twice, so you ended up doing it twice, didn't you? I think 2 reps.
Amazing.
I just felt great. And then I was like, yeah, I like it here now. Just, like, feel like proper. I thought I'd be like a gym person, but I really like it now.
Yeah. That's why I was asking you about that, because when I was reading your book on the way over, Jack, and we've talked about this before in previous conversations that we've had personally and on this show, because a lot of the guests that we've spoken to on here, some of them are predominantly in the music industry, but some of them have been like Sir Roger Sanchez from 4 decades ago. And they talk about how this technological shift has changed the industry that they work in, to a point where the metrics of how you become successful now are not based more so on your talent. It's more based on, your social media presence and how many followers you have, how many likes you have. And you just mentioned the 2 infamous brothers that we spoke about before. And it's interesting to get your perspective based on what I'm reading in your book, because it's this kind of information that men need to be listening to and hearing. It's not the stuff that you're not good enough if you've not got 5 Lamborghinis and a Rolex watch and you stood there smoking a shisha pipe, shouting whatever at a camera. Yeah. It's stuff like this about transforming yourself, your masculinity standards, making sure that you've got a workout routine. And what you also say in here as well, which I really like, is about connecting with other people and understanding that you might have an assumption of somebody else, But until you actually speak to that person and understand what makes them tick and what makes you tick. So it's that whole thing about connection. And we spoke about it before, Jacky, about in the UK, we just mentioned it. Johan Hari talks about lost connections, which ties in devices, ties in societal stigmas. And I really like that in this book, you break all that down. But what you also do is you provide solutions. And when I was reading it, I was feeling inspired at that. That's how I've felt. That's how I've been. But there's a way for me to kind of remedy that. And the bit about stoicism, I really love that. It's a great chapter. Yeah, really, really good book.
Can't remember what bits of stoicism I talked about in it. And that's right at the end.
There's loads, but what I'm also going to do, if you don't mind me, I'm going to read today's Stoic reading just because you talked about stoicism in your book. And it's something we just spoke about as well then, Jack, where you were talking about your brother being a postman. And obviously when we do our things as human beings, we have this thing where what is enough sometimes? And I've been on that treadmill where I'm like chasing a nice house or a nice car or this nice holiday or this, that and the other. And the stoicism reading today out the Mark Holiday book is wealth and freedom are free. Freedom isn't secure by filling up on your heart's desire, but by removing your desire. There are two ways to be wealthy, to get everything you want or to want everything you already have. Which is easier right here and right now? The same goes for freedom. If you chafe and fight and struggle for more, you will never be free. But if you could find and focus on the pockets of freedom you already have, well, you might be free right here, right now. So that was the stoicism reading today, which I think kind of relevant for what you was talking about before.
It's about being grateful, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I have to tell myself that. I'm like, great, isn't it? I'm just sat here, we're proper comfortable here. Like, this is the best.
Nice.
Man, what a great way to wrap this up, I think. We do a feature on the show called Pass the Book, and the last guest was Will Robinson. Yeah.
So Will Robinson has not been able to give me his Pass the Book yet, Jack, so I'm not going to be able to pass you the book physically yet, and I'll tell you why. Because he's currently on an expedition in some snow-capped mountains with his dad somewhere, and he's off-grid, so he doesn't even have a mobile phone signal. Shocking excuse. He should have the Tesla satellite phone, shouldn't he, connecting up? But yeah, we'll have that book for you. I hope he picks Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday.
Mad guy, brilliant guy, but mad. He was like just said, I'm going to run across India in 7 days. Let's go and do that. So did like 700 and something kilometers in a week. Yeah. That sort of, we're talking about doing hard shit.
And then he went to work, remember?
He's got a normal job.
Works
so
in an
he
office.
had to take a week off annual leave, and he went back on the Monday. So he made sure he was back for work Monday. But anyway, we will get the book to you, and we'll present that, and we'll do it on the captions. But for me, I want to thank you for coming down and making the effort to come on the show. It's been really nice to meet you. And I think a lot of the things we spoke about today, men need to hear. I resonated with it in times where I was struggling with my personal life, and some of the things you were talking about on your podcast, even if it was just 30-second clips on your Instagram, which were just clips from your podcast, really helped me. So I want more people to know about you. I want more people to watch your podcast. And listen to your podcast. And yeah, that's for me. I just want to say thanks.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we can put links in the description as well, Jack, for your website, jackhalford.com.
Yep.
And your book as well, the podcast and the book. And that's what I want to thank you for. It was a great read on the flight on the way over from Ibiza to was a really, really good read. Helped me out massively on this journey where I'm already helping myself, but it gave me so much more insight and inspiration. I think that's the key point, is it breaks everything down, but it gives inspiration and direction on what you can do to change and help yourself. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Wicked.
Anything else you want to say to wrap up, or are we good to wrap up? Anything you want to talk about? You know, you brought some books in. When you want to mention anything, or
no?
I
think we've covered everything. I've had a good time. Just thanks a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, wicked.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.